This week I watched 5 movies starting with the letter X, and here's what I thought of all of them. If you're new to this series, I am taking a different letter of the alphabet each week and watching movies that exclusively start with that letter, usually recommendations from you all. This is to expand my own movie horizons, but also to get better about logging my movies on Letterboxd. And thank you all so much for your recommendations. In the last video, X is a very hard letter to come up with movies for, and I think you all recommended Xanadu to me as a joke, but it's no longer a joke to me. It's such a weird movie, but it's like my exact brand of almost like theater kid-esque weirdness, and I'm obsessed with it. You've started me down a path I can't come back from. Honestly, if you just kind of approach it as this is a lot of musical talent on display with very little plot line connecting it, I think you'll kind of have a greater appreciation for it. And unless you hate musicals or hate roller skating, I think you'll have fun with it. But I do think there's like this kind of deeper appreciation you can have for how it's kind of bridging like old Hollywood with this kind of like 70s, 80s vibe of Hollywood. And also I mentioned in the comments of my last video that I did inherit the Xanadu vinyl from a family member. So I've had this for quite a bit of time and just didn't have context for it. I just enjoyed the music. So y'all have created a Xanadu lover and there is no coming back. I'm also a really big X-Files fan, so I was like, when I get to the letter X, I want to finally watch the movies because I just never got to them. And I will say the 90s movie I think is really enjoyable, especially for X-Files fans, but it is just kind of like an extended episode of X-Files. I do think it kind of plays on the rom-com element a little bit more than maybe some of the TV episodes do, and for that I do love it. However, the like newer X-Files, I Want to Believe movie, I just don't feel like it hit the mark entirely. It feels a little bit removed from the X-Files. Like, as someone who watches a lot of Criminal Minds, admittedly it felt a lot like it was just a Criminal Minds episode and they dropped Scully and Mulder into it. I feel like it was just not enough sci-fi elements to convince me it was an X-Files movie. But of course it was great seeing Scully and Mulder again, so I can only bash it so much. And then I watched the movie XXX, which stars Vin Diesel. And it's not that it's a bad movie, it's just that I don't have a lot of good to say about it. Part of it is it feels like it's having a little bit of an identity crisis of, is it trying to be a like new Bond movie? Is it leaning into Mission Impossible? Is it Fast and the Furious? And it tries to be all three, but it can't successfully be all three. If I was to say two positives, some of the action sequences are really cool, and the coats, the like big fur coats, are fun. And of course, many of you recommended just to rewatch all of the X-Men movies, and I will say I watched the X-Men movies so much already. I decided just to pick one for the purposes of this video, and my favorite X-Men movie is X-Men Days of Future Past. And I think if you're new to X-Men, that's not the movie I'd start you on, but if you love X-Men, I think it's the perfect movie. That and Logan are my top 2 X-Men movies. I just think it does like an absolutely beautiful job of blending together the X-Men First Class cast with the older X-Men movies cast. I remember when they first announced that they were doing this, I was like, oh gosh, this is gonna be so painful to watch, and then it ended up being so good. I think it's this incredible balance of humor, of action, of heartfelt reflection, and it's just like everything I want in an X-Men movie. Really only docked at half a point because I think time travel in general just causes so much confusion, and I think the ending's a little bit like, what the heck is happening? And then I think the X-Men writers were then confused later for what to do with a continuing X-Men First Class storyline after that. Thank you all so much for leaving your recommendations for movies that start with X. Next is movies that start with the letter Y, so leave your recommendations for that in the comments.